first.
That's his name.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
Who?
The guy on first.
That's it. That's his name.
Well, you ain't said nothing. I ain't asked you nothing.
You did.
You know the guy's name on first base?
So I was on this channel, I engaged with Anthony Rogers. I had these, one, two, three, four, five or so, or four Trinitarians, and I was speaking. But, it just really wasn't beneficial because they didn't have anything, right? They didn't have any Trinity information. They couldn't show me a single person trying to make the case for it, a single verse, nowhere. No teaching throughout all of Scripture. So they're trying to prove the pre-existence of Christ. And then I said, well, show me in the gospel. And when I say the gospel, I mean the Old Testament and New Testament. I said, you have the entire gospel, 780,000 words. Well, this person that I was speaking to here, I guess, thought the gospel just included the New Testament. It's not studied. So he rolled his eyes and he began shaking and leaning back and being very dramatic because I kept saying, show me in the gospel. I guess he thought that I was pointing to the New Testament. I said, anywhere in the gospel, 780,000 words. The gospel meant the Old Testament and the New Testament. See, these people just don't have a foundation of just elementary things within the Bible. And you can watch he gets unsettled here. He starts getting dramatic, and he's just not getting what I'm trying to say.
So he was in the Old Testament prophecy, but he wasn't there alive.
Okay, just right quick. So now, I want to make sure I get the framing of your question, because we've tried. If we say the angel of the Lord is Christ, and we explain why, which we can do, you're going to say it's just an angel. You're going to say that's not the Son. So I can give you a great example of the Son being right there, Trinitarianly speaking, in the same verse where God is speaking in Judges 2. I mean, literally, it's in the same chapter, not verse, excuse me, same chapter in Judges 2. This is why when you say these things have the agency of the Father, you are trying to strip away any appearance of the Son.
See, they're trying to make the Son exist in the Old Testament by making him out to be the angel of the Lord. And I said, nobody in Scripture, not a verse, not a teaching, ever tells us that the angel of the Lord was the pre-incarnate Son. Nobody. They're trying to convince me of this. They're trying to show me this, and that's their conclusion. But nobody goes, hey, by the way, the angel of the Lord is a son. See, their doctrine is based off of inferences and loose ends. Nobody ties these loose ends together to a little knot like they're trying to do. So you can see how he really flubs on the gospel. The gospel includes the Old Testament and the New Testament. That's all one. Okay, the Tanakh and the New Testament, it's all one gospel. It's interwoven.
You're preeminently trying to strip away any appearance. This is why I said, who can share the glory of God? And you said everyone, apparently. And
I didn't say everyone. I said, Jesus said, the glory you have given me, I have given to them. And the worshiping, angels will proskuneo, they'll bow, will be sitting on the throne of God. They really were dramatic and saying, everybody's going to be worshiping us. I didn't say that, see? So when you have conversations with these people, you can see that they keep interrupting, I don't mean to interrupt, but they they don't have really good logic and reasoning skills. And the Trinity, I think, is causing that.
Isaiah, God told me in the Old Testament, he wouldn't do that.
And they keep repeating things. No, I will not share my glory nor my praise with graven images. It's all about graven images. We're shown that God shares his glory. Okay, he shares his glory with Christ. He shares the same glory with us. He says those he predestined, he also glorified. He does share his glory, but he doesn't share his glory as being God with other gods. And that's why Christ said the Father is the only true God. They have this problem wrong, and they have multiple gods, and they want to say that it's one God. It's just pure fantasy.
If I show you somebody saying they did something God did, you say that's not sharing his glory. You are making it impossible in your argument to begin with.
No, because nobody in the gospel says,
okay, Christ. Nobody in the gospel, pay attention to this. Nobody in the gospel. When I say nobody in the gospel, I mean nobody in the entire Bible. Old Testament and New Testament. And watch how he gets triggered and he doesn't grasp this.
Or the Son of God was the angel of the Lord. They could have easily said that. Oh, by
the way. Time out.
So let me at least finish.
No, I just want to point out one thing. I will let you finish. You just said show you in the Old Testament. Now you're bringing up the gospel.
See, he doesn't get the fact that the Old Testament and the New Testament are the gospel. I mean, how on earth can you have conversations with people like this?
But go ahead. You did. You said show me the Son.
I know, but my point is, can't show me the sun back there as somebody as anybody worshiping. So you're trying to go to the angel of the Lord now. Nobody in the gospel tries to harmonize and tell us, by the way, the angel of the Lord was the sun.
Nobody in the gospel. I said go back there. Obviously, back there means the Old Testament. Nobody in the gospel, Old Testament or New Testament.
Hold on, brother. Listen to what you're saying.
See, listen.
You said, show me the sun in the Old Testament. Hold on.
Yes, show me the sun in the Old Testament. Nobody in the gospel. That means Old Testament, New Testament. Nobody says this. He goes, well, you said show me the sun in the Old Testament, and then he said show me in the gospel. And so that means the New Testament. This guy's, the whole conversation was like this. They were making colossal errors. They really thought they were theologically astute, but they just didn't get it.
Yeah, let you talk, right? Now, you said show me the sun in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Then you go, well, nobody in the gospel said.
The gospel again. Old Testament, New Testament, these people are just clueless.
Can I use the whole Bible or am I limited to the Old
You
Testament?
can use the whole Bible. That's the gospel, bro.
No, you're trying to show me the sun through an angel. It never tries to make this case.
That's not that. Hold on.
See, what I thought he was saying, can I show you the Old Testament? I thought he was trying to itemize it and eliminate the New Testament. See, he didn't understand, again, that the Old Testament and the New Testament are the gospel. So he says, I can't go to the Old Testament? I was like, what on earth? I was getting confused on what he was even trying to say.
Are we sticking to showing you some representation of the Old Testament, or can I use the whole Bible?
Oh my gosh! I said, show me the gospel, the whole Bible, dude. Oh my gosh!
In your answer,
I'd rather you not go to the angel of the Lord because nobody tells me the angel of the Lord is the sun.
Listen to what you're saying, okay?
No, listen to what you're saying.
The question you're phrasing, and if you notice, I don't have a problem letting you speak. The question
you do have a problem with letting me speak because every time I speak, you interrupt me, and then you just interject all the time. Go, oh no, I'm not. It's like
just a second ago was show me the sun in the Old Testament. You can't do it. Now, in your follow-up statement, you said no one in the gospel.
Yep.
So now my question is simply this. Can I use the whole Bible to show you something in the Old Testament? Or can I simply use the Old Testament?
And then I say, nobody in the gospel. I mean, this is maddening.
Start answering your question. I'm not trying to want to know.
Because you're trying to prove something to me by going here and going there and saying, oh, the angel of the Lord is the sun. Nobody in the gospel.
I thought he was trying to eliminate the New Testament and just go to the Old Testament. Because again, the problem is his logic and his understanding. He thinks that the Old Testament is not the gospel. Only the New Testament is the gospel. Just major lack of understanding.
The one that they spoke about in the Old Testament was the sun. That's not in the Bible. That's your opinion.
Listen to me. I don't know.
It's like playing with the Three Stooges. Who's on first, right?
So I'm trying to understand your question.
I really didn't think that they were that ignorant. I should have said the gospel is the Old Testament and the New Testament. I thought they knew that, but apparently he didn't. And he's really flubbing on the old. He just had me confused on like, what are you even talking about? I said, nobody in the gospel. Show me in the gospel, because I thought he wanted to go specifically back to the Old Testament. And I said, show me in the gospel, anywhere in the entire Bible is what I said. Then I said, show me in the gospel. He said, what are you talking about? You're saying, show me in the Bible. Then you go to the New Testament. He just didn't get it.
Whole Bible to show you the sun in the Old Testament, or no?
I said, start in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Try and go back.
Start in the Old Testament and show me anywhere in the entire gospel.
Okay. So
riddle things.
Thank you. So I can start in the Old Testament, but I can use the whole Bible. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
No, I said I want to see in the Old Testament.
Yeah, and I wanted him to start in the Old Testament. Build the premise here. Don't go to riddles. So start in the Old Testament, then let's go, because nobody in the gospel ever tries to make the case for this. So let's start in the Old Testament, then let's work to the New Testament.
The sun clearly identified.
I think what HHS is.
I know what he's trying to do.
No. You clearly don't, because we're going in circles right now. You alleged that the divinity of the angel of the Lord cannot be proven by, sorry. You cannot prove the existence of the sun existing in the Old Testament times. Yeah. We're saying the angel of the Lord is that person.
No.
And then what you said to that is that, well, in the New Testament,
I didn't say the New Testament. I said gospel. My gosh. See how they add words?
Respectfully, we're agreeing with you. Let's not touch the New Testament right now. We're going to stick to the Old. But then why bring up as an extra jab the New Testament if we aren't allowed in this premise to appeal to the New Testament?
Because my point is, you guys are trying to teach me something that nobody in the gospel tries to.
Yeah, see, nobody in the gospel. Nobody in the, and this is driving these guys crazy because they don't get this basic fact that the gospel includes the Old Testament and the New Testament. It's unbelievable, just ridiculous.
Oh, see, nobody's trying to teach you. I'm trying, brother.
Just like
I'm
you
trying
said,
to answer.
you're trying to. Sorry.
I just want to answer the question using the parameters that fit a response in which you will approve of.
Oh my gosh.
That's all I've been trying to do. And
he's got the entire gospel.
Within the gospel.
And he goes, oh, New Testament only?
Go ahead, use the whole Bible. Show me.
Yeah, I said use the whole Bible.
Or some example of him, and then show me the confirmation in the New.
But I wanted him to start in the Old Testament. Start there. Don't just go back and forth and dig through riddles and stuff. My point was they have a major lack of evidence in the Old Testament. So I wanted to start there to build that. I don't want to go to the New Testament and try to reverse engineer the gospel.
I just want to know how to answer the question in a set of parameters.
Right. That's not going to work, though, because, again, nobody in the entire gospel,
entire gospel,
words, ever tells
780,000 words. Okay, that is how much is in the Bible, around there. I don't think it's 780,000 words in the New Testament. I don't think so. I think it's 780,000 words in the Bible, okay? And in the entire gospel includes the Old Testament and the New Testament.
By the way, this figure back in the Old Testament, the
angel of the Lord, I mentioned the Old Testament. I mentioned the Old Testament there. And see, that includes the gospel. But to him, he's confused now because he says, I want to go to the Old Testament. And then I said, nobody in the gospel. He goes, oh, wait, I'm not trying to go to the New Testament.
That wasn't
here's by that logic. No one in the New Testament. Hold on.
I didn't say New Testament.
By your same logic,
they're adding things.
No one in the Bible explicitly said, "Oh, by the way, there's going to be this false prophet named Muhammad."
See their logic. You can't have conversations.
This religion named Islam, and don't follow it, guys.
Oh my gosh!
You see what I'm saying?
That's silly logic.
No, you're right. It is silly logic. That's what you're doing.
These guys have the silliest arguments.
Even the comment section, noticing I'm trying desperately to give you an answer,
but you don't know what the gospel means.
Show me in the Old Testament some representation, followed up by the New Testament. Okay, if you say, show me this figure who's identified as God in the Old Testament, I'll say okay. But every time I ask you about the parameters,
I just didn't know that he was that ignorant. He didn't know the Old Testament and the New Testament are not the gospel. Okay, I didn't think he didn't get that.
I get preached at, and then not the answer to what you want the parameters to be. I've literally, sir, just trying to get the parameters that will be an acceptable answer for your question.
Yeah, then the parameters are, you want to make the case and convince me that the Son is the angel of the Lord. Show me in the gospel.
I haven't made any case yet because I don't have any parameters.
Right. So again, you're not answering my question. You want the Son to be back there, and you want the Son to be the angel of the Lord. That's fine, but nobody in the gospel.
Nobody in the gospel.
Brother, I pray you watch this recording. All I've asked you for.
I pray that people watch this recording. Yeah, I pray they do too, because it will show that you guys are ignorant about what the gospel even means.
5 repeats is what are the parameters?
You're not answering my questions.
You haven't given me the parameters.
I have.
The entire gospel. Start in the Old Testament first, though.
No, I did. Here's what I said, bro. Here's what you said. You cannot show me the divinity of the Son in the Old Testament. And I said, we can't show you. And then I said, so if I try, and I said, okay, I'm trying to understand what will work, because if I show you the angel of the Lord, you're already going to refuse that, but we'll try to do what you want. Then you said, yeah, no one in the gospel said anything about the angel of the Lord.
Nobody in the gospel again. Oh my gosh.
Asked, sir, can I use the New Testament to prove the divinity of Jesus so that I can use the whole Bible? I can use the Old Testament and New Testament. Then you said, no, bro, you're not going to use the angel of the Lord. No, I wanted them to start in the Old Testament, then go to the New Testament, because I said nobody in the gospel, period, old and new. I'm still trying to understand. But I wanted them to start in the Old Testament. How much of the Bible I can use to even answer the question of the divinity of the Son in the Old Testament? The whole
because what you did was... because you're saying we're not answering the question. All right, fine. Let's answer the question. What is your question?
Like I said, let's go to the Old Testament, because we see we're not arguing whether or not Michael.
Let's go to the Old Testament. He's flipping out because he thinks that he is trying to go to the Old Testament, but I said, show me in the gospel, and he goes, oh, that's the New Testament. Like I said, it's like the Three Stooges.
We're not arguing whether or not Gabriel pre-existed. We're not arguing whether Satan pre-existed. They are existing because we see Michael doing something, we see Gabriel doing something, we see Satan.
What is your question?
So my question is, show me the Son back in the Old Testament as somebody consciously alive, the Son came down and spoke to whoever, somebody known as the Son, whoever this being is, very clearly defined, like Gabriel, Michael, Satan are clearly defined. Show me clearly clear definitions of the Son in the Old Testament.
No problem. If you go to the King James,
Oh my gosh.
Daniel chapter 3, verse 25.
Read it.
Yeah, these arguments are just weak. But that is
yeah,
an example of the
I'll pull it
logic
up.
they
I'll pull
have.
it up. I have no problem reading.
That's the
And
problem
again,
with the logic.
if
Is
it's
they
just
don't
hints and
understand the
stuff, it's just
basics.
going to be a waste of time.
Who is on first, Lou?
What are you asking me for?
Don't get excited. I'm saying who.
I'm asking you a simple question. Who's on first?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
That's it.
That's who? I'm asking you, what's the guy's name on first base?
Oh, no. What's on second?